All right, folks, it was time to make another entry into my favorite sci-fi and fantasy shows of all time because it's been a hot minute. And the last time I did, when I talked about Stargate SG-1, it was about a year ago, I think. Might have even been early 2023. But I hadn't talked about Atlantis yet. So this show is a spin-off show that in a lot of ways it kind of feels like if you've ever watched Star Trek, it's like Star Trek: The Next Generation was the show that set up this new generation of Star Trek, and we got spin-off shows from that. And that was essentially what happened here. It was successful enough in its own right that it got this show and then Stargate Universe. But ever since Universe went off the air and got canceled, the show has basically never been able to get off its feet again. And it's not for lack of trying, because Brad Wright has tried to get it off the ground 5 or 6 times. There was the MMO project that failed. There was a horrible, let me repeat, horrible like web series that happened maybe was that it could have been a decade ago. It was at least 5 or 6 years ago, but it might have been closer to a decade ago now. It's not worth looking into. It was absolutely horrific. And then the changing of the guard with MGM to Amazon. Brad Wright did have a script that he was working on for MGM, but then the ownership changed, and I think that script or those scripts got just shelved. And the last I heard, there was a rumor that Amazon was rebooting the series, but with an entirely new production staff and no one attached to the previous shows. Fresh take on it and everything else. And I'm not even sure if Wright's consulting. Maybe he is. I don't know enough about the rumors to. I just know that I've seen stuff. Once or twice a year I'll see something and read up on it and be like, oh, okay, but nothing ever concrete. So this was when Stargate was still at its peak as a franchise, and SG1 featured mostly planetary episodes, like episode of the weeks with some linear storytelling thrown in, and it got more linear towards the end, whereas Atlantis was the linear version. It was much more linear, with more. There's definitely still a lot of episode of the week things, but more linear storytelling overall. Um, and Universe, which I'll end up talking about eventually as well, was like more of like a dark, gritty Battlestar Galactica take on Stargate, which was fun. I liked it, but it got canned after 2 seasons. Anyway, this show, more linear storytelling, kind of like Next Generation versus DS9. And it's a good show, but I still do prefer, especially early Stargate SG-1 holds a deep place in my heart when they were, constantly fighting and the Goa'uld and all of that. I feel like once they introduced nanobots into the scene was when I kind of lost the plot for me because they started using them over and over and over. And then when Richard Dean Anderson left was when I really was like, you know what, I'm done. But this was in full swing, so I was able to watch this and get great enjoyment out of it. These two guys are definitely my favorite characters, Joe Flanagan's character and David Hewlett's character, the doc and the leader, essentially. Well, the nerdy scientist and the leader, which was the same sort of vibe they gave us in Stargate SG-1 because you always had Colonel O'Neill pinging off of the doc, so they did a similar thing here, just a different cast of characters. I think the only person out of here who's gone on to have a super successful career has been Jason Momoa. Most of these other folks have done stuff over the years, but their acting careers, either by choice or who knows, have gone on to become otherwise in the years. But I know, like Jewel State, as an example, I remember seeing a lot of her on TikTok during the pandemic because she has like an organic tea brand, and then she does a lot of stuff for like moms with kids. Rachel Ludrow, I don't think she's done anything since like 2019. I think she's kind of retired with kids. He still acts occasionally, mostly in like low budget sci-fi stuff, but he also runs a very successful Twitch channel, and like nerd podcast and does a lot of tech stuff with computers. And I see a couple episodes of a year. I think I follow him on Twitter and Facebook. So he stays busy. I don't think Flanagan's done much since then. Picard, what is his name? I'm gonna go look at the wiki page real quick. Picard or something. Picardo, Robert Picardo. He's done some stuff since then. Paul McGillian, not a lot. Tori Higginson, I don't think I've seen her in anything since Stargate SG-1. Anyway, the basic plot here is that, at least in the early stages, you have the Wraith and the Wraith ships. That's the big threat. And basically, these guys are manning a team in another galaxy that is essentially identical to the one that was in SG-1. They go to a distant galaxy, discover the lost city of Atlantis, which was abandoned 10,000 years ago by the ancients, and they set up shop there to explore the Pegasus galaxy. Um, that eventually leads to just over the years. This is mostly about the fight between the Wraith and them trying to figure out a way to defeat the Wraith, and the Wraith eventually making themselves to Earth, and them bringing the city to Earth to defend Earth, and that's sort of where it ends. It got a full run, as I remember. I don't remember this show getting canceled. I remember it getting a full run of, what was it, 4 seasons, 5 seasons? It says here 5 seasons of 20 episodes each, um, which is it's pretty cool. It's pretty good. I also love how they actually even say in the wiki they talk about the more linear format um, compared to SG1. Each season featuring two-part episodes, continuing a direct continuity. Each series starting starting with a cold open, sometimes preceded by a recap of events relative to the upcoming narrative, and then boom, you're in. So I think for me, a lot of this, especially with his character in here in the mix, it added a blend of this is literally Stargate SG1 if you think about it, because um, you had Indeed, as the alien joining the team in the first show, and then here you have Ronan's character joining the team as the local expert and going planet to planet from there. And we of course had a lot of cameos from people from Stargate SG1. But if I remember correctly, I don't remember the timeline. I remember this kicking off sometime in the middle of SG1. Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload, or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. And let me go look when exactly, because I don't have a remembrance. 2005 was when this kicked off. And this was in like the middle of the sci-fi originals, it says here. Well, excuse me, when sci-fi picked it up. Because it was Showtime originally, seasons 1 through 5. That's honestly when I felt that it was at its strongest. But then it went over to sci-fi, and that's when it got produced through Sci-Fi Channel. But it is a good show. I think that when I look at the characters, I always go back to I liked SG1 more than this show, but that this show is still a very entertaining show. I think this show had more physicality to it because these two in particular did a lot of action stuff, like a lot. Um, Hands-on stuff, which I felt was more than the first one. And they had a lot more runway with SG1 to go off and do, because there was the original storyline with the Gaul and then the Jaffa and everything, and then they went off and did the storylines with the Asgardians, which was cool, but also I was like, it was cool from a lore perspective, but it wasn't as entertaining as the first few seasons. And this one, I feel like they were able to get the first 5 seasons out of it. And by that point, it was like, you know what? We just need to wrap it up, because the only thing we could do from here is just go off and create another, can we create another Asgardian type storyline, or have we already done it? I was watching a Inside of You podcast the other day with the two creators behind Smallville. They were on the show, and they were talking about how by the time that they decided to finish, they'd already done 200 plus episodes or 300 plus episodes. It was a lot, because they produced that show for a long time. And they said by the time you've written, produced, and etc., 200 episodes, you kind of feel like you're done, and there's not really a lot of stories left to tell, and so you move on and do other things. And maybe there's a younger, hungrier crew who can come in and find new ways to innovate. It's time to let them do their thing. And I think that that's where they had gotten to by the end of this show, was like, you know what, we've done 9 seasons, whatever, of the first show. We've done 5 seasons of this one. Let's move on. And that was until Universe came along, which I'll talk about soon. So if you like to hear me ramble and discuss some of the things I like about these shows, subscribe, hit the bell icon. so you never miss an update. I don't do these very often. I may do a few over the holidays, and then I probably won't do any for a while. But I would urge you to check out the previous episodes that I've done. I think we're up to. I'm gonna go look real quick because I have done a few episodes here, and for those of you who are actually genuinely interested, I know this is the end, and a lot of people have already tuned out by now. But for those of you who stuck
What's up,
around,
everybody? Renfail here, and it's
don't
time.
don't don't listen to my voice. I'm talking in the background because I was opening up my YouTube. Because I got to look at the playlist. I have done 33 episodes, so there are 33 shows that I can recommend you as of this recording. So check out the playlist. There's a lot of stuff in there. I've watched a lot of shows. It's like once since I stopped reading books back when I was in my early teens, and I discovered linear television and storytelling through TV format. I think Battlestar Galactica was the show that made me realize there was really good TV because I didn't get to watch a lot of TV when I was a kid. So from the time I was 21, 2021, I've been fascinated with television and just love watching a lot of sci-fi and fantasy. So stuff like Jericho, Jeremiah, obviously Battlestar Galactica Reimagined, Farscape, Babylon 5, Devs, which was really cool. Westworld, I really enjoyed. Stranger Things, of course. The Sandman. Um, there's a lot of stuff in here. Sanctuary, which was a show that Amanda Tapping did after Stargate. It was really good. Bad special effects, but a really fun show. Anyway, that's the kind of stuff you can see. So check out the playlist. I'll see everybody in the next one. Stay safe.